Good morning, everybody in the United States, and good afternoon to everyone who's tuning in from everywhere else. Oh, we're live now. Okay, so good morning, everyone, and good afternoon to those of you who are not in the U.S. and tuning in from the rest of the world. Thank you for joining today's Google Hangout. We'll be talking about Do Agric, which is one's agriculture campaign that's currently being executed across Africa, and with a goal to rally citizens across the continent to push their leaders to support smart agricultural development policy that will help lift more than 85 million people out of poverty. And we'll be hearing a lot more about that exciting campaign today. So hanging out with us on today's Hangout, we have several special guests in the United States, and good afternoon to everyone who's tuning in from everywhere else. So everyone, and good afternoon to those of you who are not in the U.S. and tuning in from the rest of the world. Thank you for joining today's Google Hangout. We'll be talking about Do Agric, which is one's agriculture campaign that's currently being executed across Africa, and with a goal to rally citizens across the continent to push the I think that's why we're getting playback. Development policy that will help lift. Manually mute by clicking on. There's like a tab here. I think everybody did mute. Okay, great. So I can keep going. Okay, we had a little technical glitch, but now we're back. Okay, so hanging out with us today for today's Hangout talking about Do Agric. First, from Peoria, Illinois, I'd like to welcome Michelle Sullivan. She's, you can wave, Michelle. She's the director of the Caterpillar Foundation and the director of corporate social innovation at Caterpillar. And we're really grateful for Caterpillar's catalytic support of Do Agric, and we are excited to have Michelle in our conversation. Next, joining from Geneva, Switzerland, is David Picard. He's Caterpillar's regional manager for Africa and the Middle East. He's been with Caterpillar for 28 years in a variety of roles, and most recently launched the African Leadership Council amongst major cat dealers in Africa. From our Johannesburg office, we have the executive director of One in Africa, Dr. Sipho Moyo, who has been traveling across the continent, quite literally, totally across the continent for the past 6 months, elbowing her way into seeing various African heads of state and getting them to pay attention to Do Agric and to agricultural development. Also from South Africa, we have Lisicha Magoba, who is the executive director and founding member of the Bahwaduba Agricultural Primary Cooperative. And the co-op focuses on creating positive change for agribusiness and creating opportunities for youth in agriculture. So we are excited to have some fantastic guests for our conversation today. So thank you all for joining us. And for those viewers who are unfamiliar with One's Do Agric campaign, it's a movement to push African leaders to keep promises that they made 11 years ago to invest in agriculture and support smallholder farmers, especially women. And Sipho is going to start and tell us a little bit about what Do Agric is, why the campaign was timed the way it was, what the overall objectives are, and tell us about some of the exciting results thus far. So take it away, Sipho.
I think you're muted. I don't know if you can hear me.
What Do Agric is, why the campaign was timed the way it was, what the overall objectives are, and tell us about some of the exciting results thus far. So take it away, Sipho.
Great, thank you, and thank you so much. So obviously we're very excited about the Do Agric campaign. That's the banner behind me. And we launched this campaign at the beginning of this year on the sidelines of the African Union Summit. And the reason, you know, really the drive and the motivation behind the Do Agric campaign is just the challenges that this continent is facing. You know, in addition to it being a commitment that was made by leaders 10 years ago, 11 years ago actually, and we're holding them to account. But let me talk about the challenges.
Why the campaign was timed the way it was, what the overall objectives are, and tell us about some of
so much. So obviously we're very excited about the Do Agric campaign. That's the banner behind me. And we launched this campaign at the beginning of this year on the sidelines of the African Union Summit. And the reason, really the drive and the motivation behind the Do Agric campaign is just the challenge that this continent is facing. In addition to it being a commitment made by leaders 10 years ago, 11 years ago actually. And around. The challenge by this campaign was designed the way it was, but the overall message are and helps us get nice results so far. Okay, thank you. Thank you, and thank you so much. So, obviously, should I just continue speaking? This is behind me. Not really. Campaign at the beginning of this year on the sidelines of the African Union Summit. And this one, the drive and the motivation behind the Do Agric campaign is just the challenge that this continent is facing. In addition to it being a commitment made by leaders 10 years ago, 11 years ago actually. Should I just continue speaking? This is
Okay, so we're trying to figure out that technical glitch why we're getting playback. Sorry about that. We'll come back to CFO, but Michelle, why don't we, I'd love to talk to you about why Caterpillar got excited about Do Agric, how you became a partner, and why you think why this was important to the Caterpillar Foundation, and why it's also important to Caterpillar the company.
Thank you very much. We're really excited to be here today, and we're especially excited to partner with one. The Caterpillar Foundation champions programs that involve education, economic development, environmental, and basic human needs. And we believe that agriculture plays a very important role in these areas. And also, ag provides a unique opportunity for women to have their own businesses and be in charge of their own economic future, which we believe is a key to breaking the cycle of poverty. And so investing in one and the work you're doing in Africa was an easy decision. We had never invested in advocacy and policy before, and so when we looked at who made the biggest difference and the biggest impact in this area, it was clear that one was the partner to work with. And so we were impressed with the amazing work that you've done in the last 10 years. And by partnering together on the policy and advocacy side, in addition to our investments, we thought it was a win-win for everybody, and that the impact would be much greater than if we just made the investment in organizations and not partnered on the policy and advocacy side. And we also believe that the business thinking and entrepreneurs will be an integral part of the post-2015 agenda, not only recognizing what the challenges and issues are, but we also want to address and work on accomplishing the goals and what's the best way to partner in that area. So this is why we're investing in agriculture, because we believe it connects the ag entrepreneur with policy leaders around the continent of Africa to make the greatest impact. So we're very excited with the partnership and what it'll mean for the people on the ground.
That's great. Thanks, Michelle. Next, I wanted to ask Lisicha to get to tell us a little bit about your work at the agriculture co-op, and why you think that youth might play a role in agribusiness. Did we lose Lisicha? Okay, we might have lost him. He'll come back on. Okay, so David, why don't we go to you? And so you're the Caterpillar's regional manager for Africa and the Middle East, and we just heard a good overview from Michelle about why Caterpillar Foundation and was interested in this, and why Caterpillar as a company was interested in this. And we've heard, that Caterpillar is specifically doing some really great things in Africa. Maybe you could tell us more specifically about some of that work.
Okay, very good. I'm assuming you can all hear me, but thank you for having me join this Hangout today. I'd have to let you know that CAT's engaged in Africa for many, many years, and our dealers have 15,000 employees across the continent. And recently I've launched the African Leadership Council, which is comprised mainly of our primary dealers around the continent and some key Caterpillar executives as well. Our goal is to make sustainable progress possible. I mean, as a company, we believe that sustainable progress will include a unique mix of philanthropy on the one hand, existing Caterpillar business on the other, and really leverage innovative approaches to scaling social innovation across the continent.
All right, that's fantastic. Thanks, David. So, do we have SIPO back on? Not yet?
Sure. No, I'm here.
You're here. Great. Yes, all right, so why don't you, sorry you got interrupted before, why don't you continue to tell us a little bit more. So now we've heard from everyone, we've heard from Caterpillar about why they're excited about Do Agric, and we'll talk to Lasicha soon, because I see he's back on, about why youth is important in agribusiness. But maybe you could continue to give us a little more of a overview of what Do Agric is and all the fantastic things that it's done so far.
Thank you so much. And I want to say thank you to the Caterpillar Foundation, Michelle, for really believing in the work that we do, because we do actually believe that policy change is the best way to impact on poverty reduction. So the reason we did the Do Agric campaign was, first of all, we were holding leaders to account on a commitment that they had made 10 years ago, which was that they would invest 10% of their national budget in agriculture. More than 10 years ago.
Continue to give us a little more of an overview of what Do Agric is and all the fantastic things that it's done so far.
Can I continue? Thank you so much. And I want to say thank you to the Caterpillar Foundation, Michelle, for really believing in. Yes, I am back on, but I'm getting the playback. Anyway, I'll just continue and listen to the playback. So we thought that it was important.
That's why it's not, but I'm not doing it. Also, I don't recognize the Vange, so there's someone on there called Gamer. I have no idea. Okay. Okay, I don't know. We keep getting technical issues there, but we'll figure them out. We'll just, work with it as we go. Lasicha, I'd love to hear from you about, especially with your experience working with the co-op, about why youth in agribusiness is so important. Youth is definitely something that the Do Agric campaign has been focused on. We've gotten a lot of signatures from youth, and I'd love to hear about how youth in agribusiness might be the future for Africa.
Thank you very much. Well, I think it's pretty simple as to why youth is pivotal to agriculture. But first and foremost is purely because of the numbers. In Africa alone, over 60% of the population is constituted by youth. So without involving them in agribusiness, it would be quite weird to consider it thriving going forward into the future. But the other reason is agriculture requires a certain level of innovation and energy that youth can bring to the table. So with all of those factors brought to the fore, I think it really brings a change that will be attractive to the industry. With the adoption of technology and new methodologies about what we can do in agribusiness, the best way to go about it, because of the low levels of resistance, is to involve youth. Furthermore, with things such as succession planning, where agribusiness is concerned, because traditionally it's the older generation that's involved in this area, youth can then step up and have continuity.
Sorry, Lisija, go ahead. I think you cut out for a second.
Ah, I see. Gremlins in the system. So with the youth doing the things that they do on an ongoing basis, especially in the forefront of technology, it's important to incorporate them into tech. It's important for them to incorporate tech into agribusiness at a fast pace, which will enable other people and other youth to be encouraged to participate within agribusiness.
All right, fantastic. Thanks. Great. So I think while we're waiting for Sipo to come back on and tell us a little more about the campaign, one thing I will say about it is that we've gotten over 2 million signatures thus far, which is really exciting and really shows the level of interest across Africa in African farmers themselves, and in really investing in their own future, and really in African governments investing in their own future, and in the citizens from all of these different countries that have signed this petition, and really understanding that agriculture is a major part of Africa's future, a major part of economic development. And I think it's just so much fun to see agriculture be exciting, and to see everybody just so excited about it. So I guess I would love to hear then from Michelle. I know that Caterpillar has recently started to, I guess, think more about how advocacy can play a strategic role within how the company approaches philanthropy. I know that that Caterpillar has been investing in supporting girls and women, and so I'm curious how girls and women became to be such an important part of the agenda, and how advocacy can fit into Caterpillar's philanthropic work.
Sure, thank you. Well, as we did our research on what really can break the cycle of poverty, it became very clear that as you invest in girls and women, they have proven to yield the best results in ending poverty. For many reasons, the statistics are out there where when you invest in girls' education, it not only increases their future wages, they invest their dollars back into their families at a much higher rate than boys would. They become civic leaders, which helps their communities become sustainable, and also it adds stability to the community. And so when you give them also loans, they pay back at nearly 100%. And so it was very clear that girls and women were the key to ending this cycle. And so the Caterpillar Foundation is making investments in other organizations and programs that support girls and women. And this includes the United Nations Girl Up Initiative, Charity Water, Opportunity International, Water.org, and more. And each of these partners play a unique role within the life cycle of a girl, providing her with access to water, education, or even a loan to start a business. And when these partners collaborate together and look at a girl's life, not just in their own silo, but across the whole spectrum of her life, we see that being together collectively, the girl is even that much better off. And so our investments are able to leave an increased impact by the partners collaborating together. And of course, policy and advocacy is a piece of that. And so as we look at girls and women, the key is to invest in them so that you do start to break the cycle of poverty, and then the communities become sustainable and stable.
That's great. Thanks, Michelle. And Sipo, you are back on now, right? Great. So maybe you could follow up and tell us a little bit about how the Do Agric campaign has also included issues of women and girls, and even more broadly, why advocacy can play such a strong role in making sure that major policy change happens and that things happen on the ground. You know, why do all of these 2 million plus signatures matter? What do they do? Sipo, I think you're muted. If you can unmute, then we'd hear you. Okay, so she's not, okay, so she popped off again. That's okay. So maybe, Lasicha, you could tell us a little bit about how women and girls are involved in the co-op. Lasicha, we can't hear you because you're muted, so maybe you could unmute your microphone.
Oh, there we go. The value that women and girls have added to our organization has been absolutely immense. In fact, I'd venture to say that the sustainability of our business has ventured on having women being part of our day-to-day operations and also the management of the co-op. They've brought to the table a certain level of warmth that keeps people coming back to the business, and also a certain liveliness with regards to how they carry out their work, a certain level of commitment that we didn't experience before. You know, having that, making it a home environment, and having that sense of leadership also come through has been a really good synergy for what we're trying to do with regards to involving the community, showing them how entrepreneurship and agribusiness is something that's good for everybody. And I'd have to give my hat off for them for that.
Okay, great. That's fantastic. So Sipo, I think you are back on now. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit more about Do Agric, as you were trying to do before, and tell us how these 2 million plus signatures are really going to make a difference on the ground, why advocacy matters.
Fantastic, fantastic. So our advocacy obviously is about keeping, holding leaders accountable on the commitments that they make. And I was saying that, there's a number of key challenges that we're looking at, which make this, the best time ever for governments to recommit themselves to agriculture, even a better time than 10 years ago when they first made the commitment. The majority of our people rely on agriculture, and yet they're still poor. You've got 10 million young Africans entering the job market every year and not nearly enough jobs. And so what we're saying is we want government to keep the public spending commitments that they've made. And this is important because it helps to develop, to grow the value chain. It helps to catalyze the participation of private sector and give comfort to the private sector to join the agriculture space. And also, it really just helps government to fill the gap that needs to be filled. If you develop the value chain, then youth can take advantage of the opportunities in agriculture, not just all of them as farmers, but also the agribusiness point of view. So yes, we can create better jobs, what the International Labour Organization calls decent jobs, but also let the farmers who are already in the space be better off, so that they can educate their children, give their children better health care, and so on and so forth. And private sector comes in, and that also in itself begins to grow the entire sector and to create the jobs that are needed and the economic opportunities that are needed. And women in particular, we've been focusing on women. In fact, we published a report jointly with the World Bank a few months ago. It's called Leveling the Field. And there's some very interesting insights that came out of that report about what we're calling the gender gap. So you're finding that, acre for acre, women are producing much less than men. And there's some structural issues there, even around just the services that are available to them. They have less access to extension services, they have less access to inputs like fertilizer and so on. And also they have, many other demands on their time. So we want policies to not be gender neutral. We want the policies to actually target women. So what we're saying is government bring the 10%, make sure that they do it in a transparent way so that those who need to follow the money can follow the money and see how it's being spent. And more importantly, make sure that this time there's really targeted policy interventions that help the people that we care about, namely the smallholder farmers, the youth, and the women. So these are really I'm trying to sort of connect the dots and say why this campaign is so important. And it's important for us because I just talked about the need for jobs, with 10 million Africans entering the job market. And so because agriculture is the greatest single opportunity as we see it, it's very important for us to rebrand the image of agriculture. So I was excited when Lesecha was speaking. Rebranding the image of agriculture is very important for this campaign, which is why we're working with some of the coolest people on the African continent, like Dibanj, who I thought would be on this call. And because when young Africans see their role models in society taking agriculture seriously, they give it a second look. It's no longer something that they associate with their grandparents scratching the earth and remaining poor. They actually begin to see the agribusiness opportunities within agriculture. The opportunities for them to get better jobs, and so on. So the rebranding is very important to us. And the majority of the over 2 million, and I want to say over 2 million because everyone keeps saying 2 million, it's over 2 million signatures, are youth. They're young people on the African continent who are seeing, in a sense, the light in agriculture. They're seeing the opportunity in agriculture. So it's important that we're working with them. And I think for the leaders, just having over 2 million young people saying to them, invest in agriculture, I think the writing is on the wall for them as well this time around.
That's fantastic. Thanks, Ibon. It is really exciting that we've gotten so many young people interested in agriculture and excited about it and wanting to drive it forward as one of the major keys to Africa's future. And we've heard that from everybody on the panel, really. And so, David, from your perspective as the Caterpillar's regional manager for Africa and the Middle East, what are your ambitions for the future of agriculture in Africa? I mean, with Caterpillar's support, one has been able to do some fantastic things with this Do Agric campaign. What does Caterpillar see going forward for Africa and especially for youth in agriculture?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Thank you. Well, agriculture is really at the very roots of Caterpillar. I mean, way back when our company was created, it was about agricultural tractors, and I think, as Sifo so well put, agriculture is really is the fabric of a society, and certainly as we grow entrepreneurial spirit in Africa, it's something that Caterpillar wants to be a part of, and I'm really proud of the CAT Foundation for stepping into this space. From a CAT perspective as well, I mean, our products do support the development of agriculture, and we want to be there in order to help develop skills, education, in terms of women, in terms of clean water, in terms of entrepreneurial spirit in general. We can be a part of it, and that's why I think our company has participated in this important campaign. I'm going to personally take the message out to our dealers. And to our broad range of customers that are across the continent, and I have many opportunities to interact with them, and I'm certainly going to plan on sharing this important initiative and trying to get them on board as well, because it really is a great project.
Great, thanks, David. And it's really exciting to see a company like Caterpillar, who obviously has agriculture at its roots, and to see a private sector company doing so much good on the continent, and to see Caterpillar so excited about Africa's future agricultural development.
Can I say something?
Sure, absolutely.
Great. So, we're first of all, we're really excited about, companies like Caterpillar and, doing the work in agriculture. And, given what's been, and we think that private sector is really key to unlocking the potential in agriculture. But, government has to have what I call some skin in the game in order for private sector to really feel that, the policy environment is right, the security of tenure on land and such issues. At the same time, because we're a grassroots organization, we also try and keep, other private sector companies in check, and making sure that it is responsible private sector, because, for every, responsible private sector company, there is, more than enough irresponsible ones. So it's important for organizations like Caterpillar to also help us as they as they interact with other private sector companies, to ensure or to remind them the importance of just being good, responsible private sector citizens wherever they're operating on the continent.
Sipo, this is Michelle. That's a very good point. We do collaborate with other private companies as well, and we do believe that if you bring together the private sector, the not-for-profit sector, and bring in the governments, that we will get to the best results. So we are doing that, and our dealers are independent. So as Dave and the rest of us reach out to the dealers and our customers, we agree that we are trying to bring in as many people as possible into this initiative and all the other ones as well.
Fantastic. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you. We're really counting on organizations like Caterpillar to keep other private sector in check.
Thanks, Michelle. And actually, on that note, really curious, just because of all the great work that the Caterpillar Foundation has been doing thus far, really curious to hear about what we can expect from the foundation over the next 3 years in Africa and even globally, if you'd like.
Sure. We plan over the next 3 years to continue our partnerships with many of the organizations I just mentioned, which of course one is definitely a part of that. And so over the next 3 to 4 years, the Caterpillar Foundation will invest probably close to $200 million worldwide in girls and women and the other investments that we make. And so perhaps the question is not what do we expect to see from the Caterpillar Foundation, but what is it we expect to see from the girl. And we expect to see great things, because we do think we're starting to make a difference on the root causes, so that she can prosper and get on the pathway to prosperity. And so we will make a heavy investment over the next few years and continue. We have already, so we plan to continue that. And it is a global approach as well. So we're very excited to have one as one of our partners.
That's great, thanks. And I love how you said that really the future lies in the young girls and in the youth, and really the exciting part is what they're going to do over the next few years, and not what we're going to do. And kind of on that note, Lasicha, it'd be great to hear from you, just from kind of your perspective on the ground, and your perspective from farming and kind of at the grassroots level. What do you think? What else can we do? So we've had this great campaign, and we have all these signatures, and we've got companies like Caterpillar and organizations like the Caterpillar Foundation, and investing in agricultural development, and other private sector companies as well doing the same. And we've got the One campaign with these, having these fantastic campaigns like Do Agric. What else can we do on the ground? And together, how can we work together in the future to keep it going? Okay, I think we might have lost Lasicha for a second, so we'll let him sign back on. And in the meantime, we'll continue the conversation. So, David, while we're on the subject of partnerships, and I know you talked about how Caterpillar is going to continue to be involved in Africa and is really excited about the partnership with One, of course. And while we're on the subject of these partnerships, what other kind of partnerships has Caterpillar been involved in Africa, dealing with agricultural development, and what do you see as the future for some of these, and how we can, push forward all of the great accomplishments we've done together thus far?
Well, one of the things that we're trying to do is we recognize that there's a gap in skills very often between when people leave school, basic grade school, and then are out on the job market, and they come in without really the skills to be able to find work and then be effective at it. And so we're looking at working with some trade schools on the African continent. We have a recent success in Mozambique where we've put in place the framework now, working with the United Nations Industrial Development Organization. And really what that is after people have finished grade school, they're looking to join to learn some skills. We've developed these trade schools that teach them basic mechanics, basic laptop usage skills, some basic math as well. That really, when they come out, they are certified to be able to go directly into a trade, and put those skills directly to work. And we're going to be piloting this one case in Mozambique. And if it's successful, and I'm hoping it is, we'll be able to expand it elsewhere. And really, we're doing it in conjunction with our dealers in Southern Africa right now, who are stepping up, and they deliver things like the curriculum, the training curriculum, the tools, the service tools that that the students would then use. And the United Nations has been agreed to manage the project and then run the school afterwards. So we're really pretty excited about that.
That's fantastic. That sounds really exciting and could be really helpful. You're talking about some of the work that you're doing in Mozambique there on the extension and technical help and everything, and that could be really helpful for groups like Lasicha's. And so I'd love to hear from Lasicha what kind of partnerships have been helpful for you, and how can, now that we have this fantastic Do Agric campaign, from your perspective, kind of on the ground and at the grassroots level, what can we do going forward? How do we keep up the momentum?
Our company is really privileged to be able to work with the likes of your Spring Age, your Food and Agriculture Network, Resource Analysis Planning Network, and working with Pan and the like, as well as One, has given opportunities for us to be able to reach the ground. So being able to do educational campaigns, like you said, indicating that agribusiness is not just about spinning the soil. But you could look at things like what's happening within the nutrition space, what's happening with regards to food security, alternative energy, and also involving agribusiness within the tourism space. So we're looking at continuing to have these conversations with all the stakeholders and see how they can keep investing on the ground with us to see some of these changes come forward.
Sorry, Lasicha, were you finished, or did you just cut out for a second?
Yeah,
We're with you. We can hear you.
Oh, yes. I was indicating that we've worked with a plethora of partners, and One being one of them. We're working currently with several startup incubators, the likes of your Spring Age, that are literally helping startup companies on the ground find their feet and to be able to find their place within the market. And that is one of the key areas that I think agribusiness will be able to show growth. If you focus on subsistence and small-scale farming, and you gradually start to grow our pipelines, you start to see incremental growth that you otherwise would not have. So working with these particular agencies has helped us to create a significant change on the ground, rather than just kind of the usual kind of talk, and not enough to do. So I believe that's the stuff that we need to really focus on, get our hands dirty, but also apply our minds with the latest international best practice that exists for running successful businesses.
So shall I talk about, where the campaign is going next, what the next step is for Do Agric?
Absolutely. That you anticipated my next question to you, Sipo. Please go.
Great, thank you. So actually, before I even talk about that, I want to highlight the music collaboration that we did, because it's such a great thing, and it's something that hasn't been done before. I mean, it looks kind of obvious now that it's done, but really being able to bring 19 artists in a We Are the World type of music video was quite challenging, but I think it's really had the impact that we wanted out of it, which is how we ended up with over 2 million signatures. And so the next step is that we are taking this campaign, the petition rather, to the African Union Summit, which holds at the end of June, actually in 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks from today. And what we're asking the leaders, and there's quite a number of them who are really championing this. President Kikwete from Tanzania has been a champion from the beginning. He's almost a spiritual leader of this campaign, and I wish Tanzania could really get to its 10%. They're just shy of that 10%. But he's been, like I said, almost a spiritual leader for this campaign, because the first ever one campaign on African soil was delivered at State House in Tanzania by African farmers, led by one. Then you've got President Yai Bonin, who also was the chair of the African Union in 2012 when they declared 2014 as the Year of Agriculture. So he's another champion. And then we have the presidents of Mali and Niger. So we've got a few champions really lining up so that when they get to the African Union next week, they can sign a really strong compact for agriculture. And what I'm saying to each of them is, don't let anybody water down the declaration before you. That's the key. They cannot afford to water it down, because the fallout of not investing in agriculture today will really be tragic, to say the least. To put it very nicely, there's already a lot of economically driven implosions all over the continent, which have become political, but actually the foundation is poverty. That's what is driving the implosions, starting from North Africa, and it's coming down the Nile. So I think, the writing is on the wall, and I think they're getting it. And fingers crossed, we're looking forward to them signing a strong declaration.
Thanks, Sipo. So speaking of champions for agriculture, maybe you could introduce for us the video that we're going to play here at the closing, the Cocoa Na Chocolate video.
Fantastic. Is that our way out? Who's playing it? Today?
That is our way out, and we're excited to play it. But maybe you could tell us about how they're champions for agriculture, and tell us about the video.
Fantastic. I love sort of the backstory of the video, and the title of the song.
We only have like a minute, so we'll have to do a quick backstory.
Great. Basically, when we asked the bunch to come and be the ambassador for this campaign. We took him to Ghana, drove into the middle of the tropical rainforest, right in the middle of the thicket. Our car broke down a number of times, gets there, and goes to a cocoa farm. And in a sense, that's when it occurred to him, that's when he really sort of made the connection and realized that chocolate came from cocoa. And hence the expression coconut chocolate, which really means soy chocolate. So this video is really about transforming the agricultural sector so that we're not just producing primary goods, but we're transforming and processing agriculture produce into finished goods and making better value addition for the farmers.
That's fantastic. Thanks, Sipo, and thank you to all of the panelists. It's been a great conversation. It was really fun, and without further ado, the coconut chocolate video.
I can't hear anything. Can anybody hear me?
Coconut chocolate. We can dance, we can sing, we can plant, we can reap, we can feed the world. We're the most blessed, not the most cast. So says more than enough. Dignity, stability, tranquility. Africa, you feeling me? I wanna be so ready, I wanna be so ready, coconut chocolate, not chocolate. Coconut chocolate, not chocolate. Oh, natamani, jumia mulai, yenye jinsi gani, mara kudharau. We can kill this poverty, for kilimo kwanza. Do the best in a lot of things, in education and oh my God. How I'm going to feel, how I'm going to fight cassava. How I'm going to feel, how I'm going to fight cocoyam. Oh, yeah, come together. Let's make us like a better. Oh, no, mama. Senegal, I am Malo Sénégal, nous avons la terre, il y a la pluie. I am Sénégal, Sénégal,